Hi, welcome to episode 12 of Pink's Picks, recommendations from a retired English teacher. Today's title is Jhumpa Lahiri's The Namesake, a book that I was initially reluctant to teach but ultimately fell in love with. So, why was I so fickle at first? Frankly, it was a matter of choice or rather a lack thereof. In episode 1, I mentioned that I spent the bulk of my career teaching AP, IB, and ACE classes with both advanced placement and international baccalaureate literature classes. Title selection, though curriculum must be annually approved by those organizations and meet a certain requirement, the selection is at the discretion of the teacher. Cambridge, conversely, provides a very limited list of literature selections that completely changes every 3 years. Thus, by the time I had fallen in love, head over heels, for the namesake, teaching it, sadly, was no longer an option. Prior to the namesake, the beautiful, and she is Jhumpa Lahiri, wrote the cleverly titled Interpreter of Maladies, a collection of short stories for which she won multiple awards, including the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 2000. With the namesake, once again, we have a female author depicting a male protagonist, which she does very successfully. Lahiri's 2003 Bildungsroman, or Coming of Age, novel follows the life of Gogol Ganguli, the American-born son of Bengali immigrants, set primarily in Boston suburbs, where I am right now, and Manhattan from 1968 to 2000. Gogol tries to correct the randomness, or so he thinks, of being named for the Russian author. His appellation defines and distresses him, and though he spends years trying to reinvent himself, we discover his identity issues extend beyond his culture and his name. So, you might ask, what do I love about this book? And I do love, love, love it. I love Lahiri's structure and her style. Um, she begins with an epigraph, followed by 291 pages, with a natural division into 12 chapters. Reflective, I believe, of the hours in a day, the months in a year. Thus, the seasons, if you will, of both the Ganguli family's assimilation and Gogol's maturation. I adore Lahiri's allusions and references to landmarks, literature, libraries, architecture, art, education, music, Bengali culture, and life in Calcutta. I am fascinated by her clothing imagery. Most masterful, however, is her train motif. Film director Peter Bogdanovich spoke to trains regarding setting and plot development. He said, "A train is a great place to have something happening because it's an enclosed space and it's moving, so you can't get off. So it creates a sort of drama within itself." I'd say a train is a kind of metaphor for life. You're enclosed, you're hurtling somewhere, and you can't stop. There's definitely something happening on Lahiri's trains. A fatal car crash. A fatal train crash. Lost bags, a suicide, meetings, breakups, introspection. Early on, Lahiri refers to Gogol as an A, B, C, D. or an American-born confused Deshi or Indian. But we discover, along with Gogol, that it is not the cultural differences that distinguish us so much as the universal experiences: kindergarten confusion, teenage angst, parental conflict, relationship navigation, birth, death, grief, the vicissitudes of life that ultimately define us. I give this book an A+. Next time, I will be discussing James Baldwin's Go Tell It on a Mountain and If Beale Street Could Talk. Until then, stay safe.